You wouldn't believe the most terrifying things individuals have discovered while hiking in the woods. Things that will never make you go camping or hiking again. Even though some of these are from semi-anonymous sources and should be taken with a grain of salt, they're nonetheless creepy enough to make us contemplate going near the woods ever again. Before we begin, don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel for more intriguing videos like this, and be sure to watch this video to the end. Number 10. The Hanging Coffins. There's nothing eerier than discovering a burial ground deep within the forest. If you were to visit the Philippines and happen to wander into the wrong part of the woods, you might be surprised to find a collection of hanging coffins nailed to the side of a cliff face. And yes, these coffins are filled with bodies and bones, rather than being placed inside the ground as is customary. The Sagita people of the Philippines hang their coffins in the air in a strange tradition that has been going on for almost 2,000 years, which is strange to us, but presumably not to them. These ancient people believed that if they died or were hung inside coffins above the earth, their spirits had a better chance of reaching the afterlife. Number 9. Stone and smoke. Normally, if you see a chimney, it's attached to a house, generally within the living room. And yet, couples stumbled upon the frightening remnants of a stone fireplace, and no trace that it had ever belonged to a house, deep inside the woods of Maine, just outside of Bangor. It turned out that there had once been an old cottage in the forest that had burned down a long time ago. It had purportedly been inhabited by foreigners from Finland who would chisel the chimney from granite by hand. What happened to the Finnish folks who lived in their secluded cabin when it burned down is unknown, but the fact that their chimney still stands today to spook hikers is astonishing. Number 8. Mummified koalas. When you think about koala bears, you typically get a picture of adorable and furry animals hanging out in trees and munching on leaves. Nevertheless, one guy encountered what can only be described as a koala nightmare. A mummified koala was discovered draped across a couple of burned and withered tree branches deep in the Australian bush. There isn't much of a narrative for this koala bear, and it's unclear what caused its mummification, but it's certainly gross in the image. The koala appears to be hung in the trees right above some water, suggesting that salt may have played a role in its petrification. In any case, it's not a koala bear you want to embrace. It's slippery to the touch and likely full of germs and viruses. Number 7. The Headless Toad. There's nothing creepier than anything without a head, and nothing slimmer than a toad. When a student from the University of Massachusetts discovered an adult toad leaping around in the Connecticut woods in 2016, it quickly became one of the oddest things ever discovered in the woods. According to Lydia Franklinos, a wildlife veterinarian, the toad may have had eggs put in it by an adult fly, and when the larvae hatch, they may have eaten the toad's flesh, including its complete head. The fact that it is still alive is alarming, but how did it survive? It appears that most animals would perish without their heads, yet this creature was still roaming around. It would freak me out. Number 6. Abandoned government facilities. The most startlingly eerie edifice discovered in recent years is an abandoned government complex, which was recently discovered deep in the woods by an urban explorer and his cameraman in a video released on YouTube. The explorer stumbles upon the facility amid the forest and simply walks right in. He never mentions which forest or state the facility was discovered in, but that may be for the best. This location is so weird and unsettling that no one should venture out into the forest hunting for it. We don't know what this government facility was used for, but according to the urban explorer, it was opened in 1990 and then abruptly abandoned in 2014. Number 5. Hot pink slugs. It's time to add another frightening species to the list of weird animals found in Australia's woods. But instead of a deadly spider or a venomous snake, let's look at a hot pink slug. We already know that snakes and spiders control Australia's outback, but a park ranger in the territory of New South Wales recently discovered a bright pink slug. This slug grows to around 8 inches in length, but what's even more astonishing is that these nasty slime bags are only found in a 4 square mile subalpine location. These slugs live on moss and mold, and their vivid pink coloration isn't only to scare you. It's to mix in with the red eucalyptus leaves that fall from their branches. What's truly amazing is that this small area where the slugs thrive is also home to other ancient creatures that lived thousands of years ago. Number 4. The skull from 1986. Let us travel back in time to August 2, 1986, when 2 Forest Service workers discovered a partial skull, a handful of bone fragments, and a tooth in a government camp in the Oregon forests. The employees turned over the skull to local authorities, and the Oregon State Police forensic examiner reported that the skull had been lost inside the forest for nearly 10 years, and that it belonged to either a male or a woman in their late 20s. But here's where the story of the 1986 skull gets creepy. In 2005, the Clackamas County Medical Examiner's Office re-inspected the skull and found no leads. When the skull was brought to the University of North Texas, researchers uncovered her name and birth date. It turns out that the skull discovered in 1986 belonged to a woman called Wanda Ann Hare, who went missing in June of 1976. Number 3. Creepy phone booth. The random phone booth discovered amid the woods somewhere in the United Kingdom is a lot less spooky than old bones. Nobody knows how this telephone booth ended up rusting away amid a forest, but the story behind how it got there is rather strange. The telephone box was not working at the time the photo was taken, and it was quite old. The image was posted on Reddit, and someone pointed out that this model of a telephone booth is known as a K6 model, designed by Sir Giles Gilbert Scott and introduced in 1936, crafted from concrete and glass. However, these telephone booths were generally replaced in 1985, implying that whoever placed them in the woods did it a long time ago. But the real question here is what they were doing with it in the forest. Was it someone's sleeping bag? Was it possibly involved in a horrible murder? Or was it some backwoods Superman using it to change into his uniform? Whatever the answer is, I'm sure it's unnerving. Number 2. The ruins of Nazis. A scary Nazi bunker may have just been discovered deep in the distant Argentine rainforest. These ruins were discovered in a horrific state of degradation inside Tehuque Park in the country's north. According to local headlines, researchers from the University of Buenos Aires discovered 5 German coins made between 1938 and 1941. They also unearthed a part of a porcelain plate inscribed with "Made in Germany." Of course, all the clues point to this decaying wreck being used by the Germans at the time, which isn't surprising. Given that, following the defeat of the Germans in World War II, many of the richest members of the Nazi Party fled to Argentina to avoid prosecution, and it appears that one of these sites has recently been uncovered. Number 1. The giant web. Everything is bigger in Texas, and this couldn't be truer than with these trees entirely engulfed in spider webs. The web-covered trees were discovered at Lake Turkana State Park, some 30 miles from Raleigh, and resemble the terrifying moment from The Hobbit when Frodo is captured by the huge spider. Experts were surprised to learn that spiders can collaborate to build a form of community web, as they previously believed spiders exclusively made webs. The first huge web was discovered in 2007, and the spiders that collaborated to create it are known as Tetragnatha guatemalensis. If you are afraid of spiders, this is the last place you should go. What's the creepiest thing you've ever found in the woods? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And that's all for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please like it and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on another wonderful video from us. Till next time.